I mean, we don't know if Putin will be that crazy. Some people say he would. Some people say no. Putin's a rational guy. He will not go nuclear. So I don't
Uh,
know. I'm not going to
yeah,
pretend. I'm not going
but
to pretend to know.
I think if Russia uses nuclear weapons, Russia will cease to exist.
No, 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 no.
no, no,
Oleg,
this is not.
Even
No.
Oleg, it
tactical. I
can't. It
think
won't
if
cease
Russia
to
uses
exist.
nuclear weapons,
It won't cease to exist.
If you think that the Western side is going to respond with nukes
yes,
into
they
then
will.
no, that's not
I
happening.
don't know
And
if they'll respond with nukes. I don't know what the
Because then it would be the end of humanity.
yeah, but it doesn't mean that it will not happen.
yeah. First of all, if Russia uses a nuclear weapon in the Ukraine, whether it's a tactical nuclear weapon or a major one that totally destroys Kiev, as an example, NATO can't respond to that with nuclear weapons because NATO was not attacked. It's a different kind of problem. Now, it's a very serious problem, and Russia would probably be totally kept out of I'm losing some words here. They would be banned by most of the countries of the world would probably be against that kind of thing and would enforce any restrictions on the Russian government, especially economic restrictions. And Russia is already economically weak. It does not even have the economic power of the American state of California. So Russia is an economically weak power. It has nuclear weapons.
Compared to the US, yes.
Yeah.
But I want to say something here.
Yeah.
It's kind of like ironic, like after putting these many sanctions on Russia, like their economy actually has improved compared to like what they were, I guess, last year. So I think it's kind of like even after heavy
How do you
sanctions.
know?
Wait. How do you know that? You live in Russia? You said you live in India. You don't know.
I told you I read.
You-
I get news from.
Okay, there are Russians that use this website. Which Russians have said that their lives have improved?
I'm not saying that lives have improved or any. I'm not making those sole claims at all.
Okay, so
I'm just saying that compared to, like what the state of the economy was, I guess 2 years ago, or even before the start of the war, it's gotten better, because they're now selling, their like oil and gas to countries in South Asia and in Africa, and they've got more customers. And some people are saying that they're actually
without
European.
concrete figures. I'm going to have.
Okay, I'll try to give you.
Okay, I think you just you just have some agenda. You want like.
I don't have any agenda.
No. Like all we have to do is ask for the figures. I mean,
But he will not give you the figures. It's like.
I want to see what Russia was earning from gas and oil prior to the war, and what Russia is earning from gas and oil now.
It was earning around 700 to 800 million euros from trading with the European Union, selling oil and gas a day. 700 to 800 million euros in like revenue from oil and gas.
And now today, how much are they earning?
I think maybe half of that from the European Union. Yeah.
But they've got new customers.
Big customers with big pockets, like Mali, and what's the other country that Wagner is involved in? They're involved in Mali, Chad,
Nigeria.
Yeah, Niger, not Nigeria, Niger.
Niger.
Yeah, these are not big pocket countries.
Yeah, but they are spending $2 billion on this war.
Not just that, mostly to China and India. So.
Yeah, but the question is, how much have they earned? if Oleg is correct, and I since nobody's posting figures from the internet, let's assume Oleg is correct that Russia lost half of its oil and gas income with the start of the war. You're saying that they have not only recovered that half that they lost, but they gained even more, because you're saying the more
Yeah, I'm
it's a
pulling
better
that info.
well,
Pulling that up.
until I see figures, I'm not buying it.
So this is
سلام آقا خوبی؟
Yeah, at this moment, the European Union is still like on the first place. I see when it comes to gas, they buy most of Russian gas.
آقا سلام خوبی؟
they're still buying Russian gas?
Most of it, yes.
Guys,
Oh,
Yeah, it's actually it's quite strange because the European Union actually has a huge like trade connections with Russia during this war. And also all the diplomats, they are all present in all the countries of the European Union, Russian diplomats, in the United Nations as well. And guys like Lavrov, the Nazi guy, the Russian Nazi, he says things, in the like in the United Nations, he says things like, Ukrainians do not exist or something like this. We need to fight Ukrainian Nazism. Like he gives such speeches, in the United Nations, and no one even gives a flying fuck about his speeches. So I think like this war, it's like the support, of the United States and European Union is quite superficial in this war. They help, of course, but they do not help as much as they could help. Nowhere near as much. They help maybe by like it's like imagine
because
if
they're dependent on Russia.
no, they do not. They're not dependent on Russia, but they, for some reason, they do not want Russia to lose. They want Russia to
Well, it's look,
withdraw from Ukraine. They do want Russia to withdraw from Ukraine, but they don't want Russia to lose. They do not.
the thing is,
everything
if they know that they're buying cheap resources, natural resources from Russia, then of course they're going to be dependent on them. They want to make sure that their economy is in a fine state. They won't want to suffer.
they are keeping this conflict, but this conflict is like, it looks like it's something from the past, like past history, because it's like if the modern war started somewhere in Europe between modern countries, it wouldn't look like this. So the war we see in Ukraine is like the archive, some maybe like from 40 years ago. This like the war would look like this 40 years ago maybe. It's like some ancient type of war. Like
This is what I mean.
it's like they look at it, the European Union, the United States. It's like someone fighting with sticks, but they won't help another part they won't give them modern weapons to win over another guy with a stick.
As an outsider,
because Russia is nothing, militarily it's nothing in comparison to NATO. It would be destroyed in several days if it starts the war against NATO.
I mean, NATO, it's going to happen to both of them. NATO countries are going to be destroyed. Russia is going to be destroyed.
Only if nuclear weapons are used.
In conventional
Oleg is correct if it's a conventional war. Because the only Russian commander that actually won a major battle in the Ukraine was Prigozhin, and that was in Bakhmut, and he himself admitted, losing 30,000 soldiers trying to take one city. But he's the only Russian whose troops won any substantial territory or won a battle. It wasn't even substantial territory. It was a city in ruins. But you have to say the Ukrainians left the city, and Wagner moved in. So Wagner won. Wagner is the last man standing on the Bakhmut battlefield. However, he was the only Russian commander that won anything in this war. And they killed him.
Yeah, there's a carried out coup against.
Well, we don't know
Someone
we don't know if it was a coup. Nobody really knows what the hell the Wagner was trying to do.
Well, I think 2 pilots were killed. On his orders.
No. They shot down more. I think Wagner shot down 8 planes.
Yeah, but eventually, it was a chopper. It won. I think one chopper.
It doesn't matter.
and
It doesn't matter. Wagner shot down Russian military planes. Now the point, but that's not.
Shut down or shot down is the same.
I'm sorry, I missed something. Say that
Wagner
again,
shot down one of Russia's fighter planes.
They
chopper.
shot down several planes.
I mean, what do you?
No, not shot. Shot. I'm sorry.
Oh,
if you did not
okay.
understand me. Shot.
American shot. Oh, yeah.
Not shot.
Okay. Shot. You mean shot? Yeah.
Shot down with missiles.
Yeah.
Okay, so but whether it was a coup or what, I don't know. Nobody knows. Only Prigozhin and the Russian senior command knows. But they didn't kill Prigozhin right away. They even had negotiations with Prigozhin and asked Prigozhin to move his army into Belarus and Africa, and where Prigozhin or Wagner already had troops in Africa, but they wanted Prigozhin out of Russia. Prigozhin was in the city of Rostov on the Don. That's a city in Russia, not too far away from the Ukrainian border. But Russia didn't kill Prigozhin right away. They actually were negotiating with him, and in fact, he was in Moscow in negotiations when he left on his private plane, and making a big mistake, a mistake that I think, I'm not positive of this, but I think he himself did not want all his senior leadership flying in the same plane. In this case, they did.
I think they didn't want to do any coup. It was not about the coup. They just wanted to create a picture. That they wanted to do it in order to hide the fact that this Wagner group was completely destroyed. In Ukraine. So they just left the front with the remnants of what they had. And they just, pictured it as some sort, of.
Well, yeah, no, the Wagner troops, I believe, were replaced in Bakhmut by Russian troops. Wagner was moved out of the Ukraine by Prigozhin, and Russian troops replaced the Wagner troops in Bakhmut. But we're talking about the supposed coup when the Wagner troops marched on Moscow and then stopped and turned back. This was all negotiated, and Wagner. It seemed to me that Prigozhin wanted to punish the 2 most senior Russian generals, Shoigu and Gerasimov. Shoigu is not even a military man. He's a political appointee. And they wanted Prigozhin wanted those two guys out of the government because he felt that they were denying him weapons and ammunition when he was trying to fight the Ukrainians in Bakhmut. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. But that was Prigozhin's argument. He was on TV, he was making his own videos about this and calling them nasty names.
And all of that was seen as a traitorous act by Putin.
Sure. I would see it as traitors if I was the president of Russia. Sure, I agree. But nevertheless, he was the only general that won anything in the Ukraine. Excuse me, he wasn't a general. He was the only combat. His troops were the only force that won a battle in Ukraine, won a major battle, and it took 9 months, I think it was, to win.
Bakhmut is not a small city, right? It's
not small, but it's a city.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome to the conversation. I'm in the room when we're talking about Russia. We're talking about what we think about Russia. We're talking about what we think we know about Russia. In the room itself, I haven't quite said anything. I'm kind of just remaining quiet until there's something for me to say. Just carry on listening.
Ukrainians would have liked to have kept Bakhmut, but another goal that the Ukrainians had was to bleed the Russians.
By the way, that's the same thing Russians say. Like they were basically, they were calling Bakhmut as a meat grinder for Ukrainians. That's the Russian side narrative.
Right, but that's the Russians on the TV shows. Okay, the Russians in Moscow, nice and safe. Prigozhin, yes, he probably called it a meat grinder, but he admitted the casualties. He's the only person on the Russian side that admitted the casualties.
He used to say that. I mean, I don't remember if he said like they were employing convicts, but it was known to everyone that this organization, it's a private organization, Wagner, right?
Right. Yes.
They were employing like prisoners, convicts.
Yeah, they were. Sure. There were even videos.
As cannon fodder.
Yeah, there were even videos of Prigozhin, at the prisons recruiting people, and these are not videos that were created by the Ukrainians. It was Prigozhin videos. Yes, he recruited prisoners, and they were basically sent into the meat grinder with his regular troops behind them. I mean, his contract troops, his original contract troops were not the ones doing the dying, the heavy dying there. Yes, some did die, I'm sure, but it was primarily the prison troops that did the dying.
Well, prison troops aren't 200,000, so you had a lot of young Russians from small villages that were dying as well.
Say that again.
200,000 died. You had a lot of young Russians who were from small villages outside.
Oh, I'm not talking about the whole war. I'm just talking about the battle for Bakhmut.
Well, even at the Battle of Bakhmut, it wasn't all prisoners who died. You had a lot of
young... I said that there were probably, some of the other Wagner troops that were not, from the prisons, that were part of his regular force, probably died. But it was primarily prisoners that died there.
Wagner wasn't the only force at Bakhmut. You also had regular Russian troops there as well.
Wagner was the primary force. And then when Wagner left, after the battle was over and the Ukrainians totally pulled out, then the Russian, and Wagner was then pulled his own troops out of Bakhmut and moved them into Russia. And Russian troops took up the positions that the Bakhmut troops had captured.
But yeah, it's something that you're going against your own country. Of course, there are going to be some repercussions.
Oh, sure. Sure.
right? So I think even though he was thought of as a hero back then, if I remember correctly, like
Say
some
that.
Russians, some
I'm sorry.
Russians were
Say that
some
again.
yeah, some Russians were thinking that hey, he's a hero, Mr. Prigozhin, right?
Yeah.
Because he was able to liberate.
They that's true, and the videos, again, not made by Ukrainians but made by Russians. The videos from Rostov on the Don showed that the population considered Prigozhin a hero.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Prigozhin
war.
messed up though. Prigozhin should have took a few of those nukes on his way out of Russia because that would have been some security for him to not have his life ended. Messed up.
What do you mean taking what nukes? What nukes
The
did he
nukes,
have?
the nukes in both of the towns that he occupied on the border with Ukraine.
There were no nukes in the
Yeah,
Ukraine.
there were.
The Ukraine gave up its nukes to the.
I didn't say
Russians.
Ukraine.
Oh.
When did I say Ukraine? I said on the border with Ukraine.
Oh, Russia put nukes in Belarus. Are you talking about those nukes?
I'm talking about the cities that he took on the border of Ukraine in Russia. They had nuclear weapons.
No, they didn't have nuclear.
Yes, they did.
Okay. Oh, whatever you want to
So
believe.
you're saying Prigozhin was in control of launching those nukes.
He never.
So
I
you're
don't know. He never went in. He never went into those facilities, and he should have. He should have taken control of those nukes, and then he could have bargained.
Well, I never heard that, but
There were
maybe.
there were no nukes in that city.
Yes, there were.
Yeah, I know you keep on to argue that, but whatever.
Whatever. It's a fact, man. Why do you deny reality?
How do we know either way? How do we confirm that it's true that they were nukes then?
Well, nobody's going to do the research, so I'll do it for you again.
Okay then. That's what we like to see.
Prigozhin was carrying nukes.
I never
Well,
said
maybe,
he was carrying
maybe,
nukes.
like you.
I
mean, he was
never said
threatening.
I never said he was carrying nukes. I said
Were
the
there
cities-
nukes in Rostov?
Can everybody shut the fuck up and stop trying to fucking change what the fuck I said? There were cities in Russia that he took that had nuclear weapons. I didn't say anything beyond that.
The only city he took in Russia was Rostov on Don. Major one, big one. So
Yeah.
what are you getting all
That was
aggressive
like the
about?
center for Wagner.
Yeah, I mean it was a big city, and if there was a nuke, maybe it must have been there. And if that's the one he's talking about, we'll find out. But so is this the reason that Russia is so weak? Is because of Prigozhin?
No.
Is that the point you're trying to make?
I think initially, like we were talking about how this war is going to stop, right?
Okay.
What's the solution? Because both sides are not agreeing to basically agree with each other's demands.
You see, I said
Right.
Rostov on Don. Okay, so the only way this war is going to
Why
stop
is
at
that?
this point is when Crimea is back in Ukrainian hands. That's just what I'm reading from, or concluding from everything that I hear and read.
Or the other, or if Russia totally conquers the Ukraine, then
Yeah,
the war would end.
of course, yeah. Either way, the war would end.
Either way,
Yeah.
yes.
What about if Russia launches nukes into Ukraine? Do you think war's going to stop?
Yeah, but that's a situation that we cannot unravel, until it happens. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's
that-
going to happen. at
Yeah,
all.
I don't think it will happen either.
Because I just think that there will be a mutiny in Russia by somebody he's in the chain of command, and will will not press that button. I mean, that is the dumbest thing. For Russian nationalism, we're gonna send a nuke There's absolutely no logic behind that. So I think nukes are off the table. It's just fear mongering, in my opinion.
Yeah, at this point,
We shouldn't
with
take
you.
it into consideration.
I agree with you at this point. Yeah.
Because we do know like Russia doesn't want to lose this war.
I think you have to take it into consideration because because of the people who control Russia now. They are very low class people. Like people from the very bottom of Russian society.
No,
The
no, no,
thieves and the criminals and the thugs.
Yes.
they're not from
Yes.
the bottom. No, they're not from the bottom. We're
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about
they are.
oligarchs who are
Believe me,
who are
Putin is
powerful
like
and intelligent people.
Prigozhin was from the gutter.
Yeah, they are like the level of their individual culture is extremely low. Like these people, if they were living in the West, they would be like street thugs, like something like this. They will never reach the level of even
Yeah, you cannot say that about everyone.
Well,
No,
we can
maybe
say that
there are
about
few.
those in power in Russia.
believe me, their intellectual abilities, their everything, like their personal culture is at the bottom.
It's
No,
it's
I don't
violence. It's violence which keeps them where they're at,
Well,
and
I
not
mean,
merit.
they have their own narrative, like they're defending their lands.
Well, their
So-
lands never included Ukraine. In 1991, when Ukraine became separate,
I know. Of course, there's an argument for that.
an argument for that. It's national law. Hello.
Okay, my point against Frank is Frank said that that there were no nuclear weapons anywhere near Wagner. What Frank said is bullshit, and I just proved him wrong. Thank you.
Frank, what do you say to that?
There were no nuclear weapons.
It's okay, man. Didn't know.
This is from the chief of defense intelligence of Ukraine. He said that that Wagner actually got to the facility.
Yeah.
Their intention was to acquire small Soviet-era nuclear devices, and they should have done this. That was my point when I was talking to Frank. But Frank said that there was no way for them to do this apparently, even though a leader in Ukraine is contradicting exactly what Frank said wasn't possible. But I guess Frank knows more than the Ukrainian guy would. Everybody bowed down and listened to Frank.
Who's Frank?
Yeah, who is Frank?
You know, not everybody's opinion has all the facts.
Well, then they shouldn't fucking give their fucking opinion. They
Well,
should try to
this is
study
the
stuff
thing.
first.
This is the thing. You don't know that you don't have all the facts until you give an opinion and you get called out.
No, I'm not playing that fucking game because that's a game of Horatio talking for 6 hours straight, saying lie after fucking lie. It's not my job to go around disproving everything he fucking says. That's bullshit. You shouldn't fucking say it if it.
We're talking about Russia, though. We're not getting into any personal beefs. It doesn't make sense. We're talking about why is Russia so weak?
What beef? I give you an example of a compulsive liar who constantly says things are true when they're not.
Right.
How is that a beef?
Okay. You just gave us a name, but you didn't give us an example. What's an example of a lie?
Frank just said that there were no nuclear weapons anywhere near Wagner, so Frank just lied.
Frank? What do you say? Oh, he's in a be right back configuration.
Yo, Oleg, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about what I stated? Why do you think? Because I don't know the answer to this. So what do you think the rationale was? Why did they stop and not snatch up some nuclear weapons? What do you think was going on?
I don't know about this, you know.
My
Maybe.
opinion is that they know that the nuclear weapons don't work.
Maybe, you know, it's the control over the weapons is centralized, so they can only.
Well, they don't.
Oh,
I
one.
guarantee you, it's because they don't work, so they're just ignored them.
Maybe.
Because it's Russia. Nothing works in Russia. How can
But
you
why?
expect
Yeah,
nukes
why?
to work?
I think the nukes wouldn't help them, you know, to
Not at all.
like.
Because when were the nukes made? 60 years ago?
The nukes would give you bargaining power though, because
No,
Only
I
if you
think
think
this.
that the nukes will work. I don't
if you
think
have a
they'll
fucking
work.
if you have a suitcase nuke, you put it into a pedestrian's car, or you have one of your Wagner people dress up as a civilian. They put it in their fucking car. They drive the car to fucking Moscow. They park the car within a few blocks of Red Square. They leave the car. They put a timer on the nuke in the trunk, and it's fucking game over for Putin.
Okay, so how long is it going to take for the guy who parks the car to get far enough away so that he'll be safe when the blast happens?
I don't know.
It's days.
Probably 20 minutes.
Are you kidding me? Where's he going to drive to in 20 minutes in Moscow? The whole of Moscow is going to get nuked.
You don't need to take out the entire city. I mean, we're talking Red Square, so the nuke should be enough to take out Red Square and all branches of government within Moscow. It's fucking game over.
Whoa, really? They can do that? I always my image in the head about nukes is the one that I saw. You know, the practice ones that they did back in the 50s. Oh, sorry, in the 40s during the Manhattan Project, and then of course the two that they actually dropped. That's my impression of the nuke.
These are suitcase nukes. They don't take out fucking 60 miles a radius.
So they don't mushroom?
There is a mushroom, but it's going to be like a 5 or 10 mile radius, not fucking 60 miles out.
The problem is that the nukes in Russia are spread all over the country. So even if you destroy Moscow, now you've got nukes like because Russia is huge.
I don't think a suitcase nuke's going to do anything, because the way they dropped the nukes during the war, the Second World War, was it exploded well over the city.
You take a suitcase nuke and you drive to the middle of fucking Manhattan. That entire island is gone. Manhattan is that fucking small. It's gone. You're going to kill like 3 million people in the span of like 5 minutes.
Can you imagine if that happens and then 2 hours later Manhattan splits in two and there's a big canal between?
What is this, Escape from New York? Is Kurt Russell going to be in this one?
I don't know. Is he still alive?
Yeah, of course he is. Yeah.
Oh, is he in a wheelchair or can he move? What?
No, the guy's still doing. I think he made a movie like a year ago even.
He's in Escape from New York and Escape from LA as well. I think this.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah, same premise. It's kind of fun. Actually, New York was more a prison, though, wasn't it? Wasn't it like a prison thing, and LA was something else, or were they both prison type? Because in Escape from New York, doesn't he break out of prison or something?
Well, fuck, man, he could go international. Look at all the migrants, where they come from. Escape from Afghanistan, escape from Syria, escape from Africa, escape from North Africa, escape from... I mean, he could keep on making moves until well after he dies.
Well, he's doing fine. Now, the guy, he'll still be making moves for the next 5. I mean, look at Clint Eastwood. Kurt Russell will still be doing stuff for the next 5 years, probably.
Mm-hmm.
He's not that old. He's like 72. Goldie Hawn is like fucking 80.
Jesus Christ. You know, these are people that I remember when I was in high school.
I know, and they're still making movies. Yeah, he is 72, so he's not even that old. Suitcase nukes. I mean, fucking Clint Eastwood's like 92. Suitcase nukes, though, okay? This is the danger. They are suitcase nukes. It's practical to just grab it, put it in the trunk of a car, put it onto a helicopter. Wagner Group flies off somewhere with fucking 80 of these things, and then Putin's crapping his pants. I'm saying it would have been a bargaining chip. They don't have to drive to Moscow and do anything. Just the fact they have them, that is a fucking bargaining chip. It's a scary one. Very scary.
I don't think
That was
I'm not scared of nukes at all because they're just so far away from the actual reality of what's going to happen. I think they're bluffing. I think the whole nuke scenario, the whole
You
nuke
gotta ask. You should
battle
ask
is a bluff.
Japanese.
I think it's a bluff.
Japanese are gonna tell you that no nukes.
I'm not talking about the Japanese. I'm talking about the Russians, and I think the Russians are bluffing.
I think. Well, I think Russians are being very, like they're restraining themselves.
I doubt
From
it very
using
much.
nukes.
I don't think they have nukes. Their nukes don't work, is what I'm gonna say. And I think their nukes, if they did work, would backfire and kill a lot of Russians. This nuke in a suitcase thing, I don't know if it's ever worked. Has it?
Well, then Russia should test it.
But go ahead, test it.
Well,
Go ahead,
test
go ahead.
nukes.
If they got it, you
This
know what I
is
say
the way
about
to do
Russia?
it.
Fuck you, Russia. If you've got them, use them.
I don't think so. They're
If
gonna
you got
say-
them, use them.
The thing is, everyone knows
If they've got
that
them,
Russia
if they've got
has
them and they use them, they'll get whatever they want, and the war will end. Let's do it.
everyone knows that Russia has the most number.
Nobody,
of
no,
nukes.
everybody knows because that's just a
So-
claim. That's you can't say that everybody knows.
It
What-
makes sense. Like
it doesn't
Russia,
make sense.
Russia
You say
is
that
like
everybody.
against
You can't say that everybody
NATO.
knows. You can't claim that everybody knows when you have no way of knowing what everybody knows.
Well, historically speaking, like we know how many tests Russians did, nuclear tests.
Historically
Russian-
speaking,
Russian
Russia is communist, but look at them now. If you're talking about
That's a
historical,
different thing.
yeah, it's not a different thing. For 70 years,
We've
Russia
seen
was
Russia
communist.
testing their nukes over and over again. We know the nukes have nukes.
Of course, they have nukes, but that doesn't mean to say that they are going to that they are going to be detonated. One way or another, they will not be detonated. Whether it's through incompetence,
Well,
whether
they have
it's
shown
through-
that
whether
they
it's
have
through the
shown
chain
that
of command, just thinking this is craziness, which I think is what's going to happen, and they won't even try. I don't think the Russian army will allow. The Russian military
they
will
say,
allow.
they say
will
like
allow a
Putin has the
nuclear
power
bomb.
to.
I doubt it. No, I think it's a bluff.
I think they say that the power to launch nukes actually comes down to Putin.
Come down to what? Putin.
So Putin's decision.
Right, but he's not very
Yeah.
He's not a very. I don't think he's going to. He's becoming less and less popular in his homeland. I think.
Russians wouldn't say that.
They're not allowed to say that. Do you know that if they support, if they say anything against Putin or against the war, they get questioned, detained, probably punished? Russia,
The irony,
Russia is
the
an
irony is,
Russia is an absolute dystopian state. It's a terrorist
you know,
state.
the irony is the same thing is kind of happening in Ukraine. Like you're not allowed to say anything,
Where's that?
especially when it comes to military.
Where's that?
You cannot say anything against Ukraine.
Where? In Ukraine?
In Ukraine.
I don't know.
No, stop bullshitting, you know, because I lived in Ukraine half of my life.
Aha.
You know, and it's
You're in Poland right now.
and it's perfectly safe. Always has been in Ukraine, you know, to say whatever you want.
That's what I thought.
Now I'm talking about these times, like during the wartime.
This times is the best it has ever been, you know, right now.
Yes.
Ah. So I like, I've seen reporters, journalists
But Marek
who
have
are
you ever lived
actually
in Ukraine?
who are in Ukraine.
We got
They're
somebody
being targeted.
we got somebody from who lived in Ukraine for years, and he's telling you that you're wrong. You've never been to Ukraine.
No, he's not in Ukraine right now. He's in Poland.
He understands the Ukraine mindset. He understands the Ukraine culture. I mean, how many years did you live in Ukraine, Oleg?
27 years.
There you go. That's enough to
I
figure
think
out what's going on.
if I talk to a Russian right now, he's gonna say the same thing. He's gonna
Well, bring
defend
a
the
Russian
same
and
thing.
let's hear him say the same thing. You can't make those silly claims and think, oh, well, okay, he's right. Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way. If you're going to say if I and everybody knows, then you're just going to have to bring out some proof. I'm not going to, I just don't take everybody's word and say, oh, okay, he must be telling the truth. Especially if it's so general like you are doing. You're generalizing.
Yeah, this is what like if you're like from the country, it doesn't prove that what you're saying is right.
No, it's still a lot better than when you're just quoting from what you read on the internet.
I
Yeah,
think
like
it can be
if you make a
biased.
statement, you make a statement. So there are Ukraine is like a Nazi-governed country,
No, I'm not saying that. Right?
No,
That's
no,
what
but
Russia says.
but
Russia says that.
Putin's argument is like,
Yeah.
like, and how do you prove that? From the Russian standpoint, they are just stating this all the time, But what's the proof like of this?
Is it true that the Zelensky government has targeted opposition?
And even if they prove this, what makes them like the someone who is allowed, to solve this problem or allowed to intervene, like
It kind of
solve.
proves that, no, I'm saying it kind of proves that it's not democratic.
Who are they? What's Russia? Like is it like a some democratic, like keystone democratic nation? What's
No,
like?
Russia is not democracy.
But what authority does it have, like to intervene into other countries? I understand if the United States, intervenes, for example, in Iraq, I understand the logic here. I understand the authority behind it because this is the country which is at the peak, of technological, economic, societal development in the world. It has the authority.
It doesn't mean that they have the
I
right to
don't I
invade
don't
those
see I don't
countries.
approve this. I don't approve this. But I say that if there was any country that could, do such things, it's the United States, not Russia, not China, not some
What do you
other.
mean?
Like what?
Compared to like comparing your country to Russia, then there's quite a huge difference in terms of the defense ability, in terms of military capabilities. Your country, there's a huge difference between Russia and Ukraine.
Okay, and what follows from it?
Well, what I'm saying is, if people stop supporting, if countries, NATO doesn't support as much as the US. I think if the US stops supporting Ukraine, then yeah, the war is going to end very soon.
Okay, so what?
Yeah. So, like, what I'm saying is that it proves that Russia will be able to overcome Ukrainian forces without Ukraine getting any help from outside.
Okay, so I think it's probably like very, very. It was very clear from the beginning, that Ukraine is like a much smaller country with a much smaller military, so it will lose
Yes.
the war. Yeah, it's so, but without the help of other nations. Yes, I don't disagree with that. So what's your like, what do you want to prove?
Like you mentioned, Iraq
Mhm.
being invaded by the US, and you can understand why Iraq would be invading Iraq. Sorry, the US would be invading Iraq
Mhm.
because the US
Why?
is technologically the most powerful nation.
But why did they invade Iraq?
There is no justification for that.
What? Yeah, there was. They claimed
There is no
they claimed there was
justification
70
for
MPs, and there
invasion.
wasn't. It was a freaking lie. It was a ruse. It was a lie.
What's the
But don't
lie?
you think? Don't you think that Iraq behaves a little bit like Russia for the 20 years before the United States invaded Iraq?
That's
Didn't
what I told Sydney too, and Sydney did not believe me. Go ahead, Oleg.
Hold on.
When
You
the-
told me what?
I told you that America and Biden were not giving as much aid as the rest of Europe. Germany was giving more aid than America to Ukraine.
There was a time, yeah, right in the beginning.
No,
but even
you-
now,
even now, look, check the internet.
well, but
Ask-
you know what?
ask-
Biden is he must be a secret Nazi or something, because why would he withhold aid to a ostensibly free country trying to defeat Nazism?
It has to go through Congress. Congress has to approve it. Biden doesn't always get what he asks for.
Congress is a Republican.
No. Yeah. Congress is primarily
The House is
Republican
Republican.
controlled. Yeah. Yeah, but Europe is providing more, and more aid. And in my opinion, Europe should provide more aid because it's Europe's life that's on the line.
Yeah,
If
but
Ukraine
Frank.
Yes, sir, Mr.
The-
Winston.
The United States military-industrial complex cannot be left out.
No, they're not being left out. They're
They're
providing,
there to
but-
make
but they don't
war
provide.
stuff.
But Europe still provides more than the United States at this time. I posted a a quote that I got from the internet.
It's a snapshot, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
you
it
could
shows-
you could ask the internet and see if I'm wrong. But I think currently, 2023, I think Europe is providing more aid than the United States.
Well, Frank,
No.
one thing you were wrong about
Really?
was a nuclear weapon thing. Did you see what I put in the chat right now?
You mean this one, Frank? This one? Shows like the U.S. is the largest provider.
No. The Bogosian mutiny thing with the nukes. There were nukes in Rostov on Don, or whatever it's called. Rostov.
Not Rostov, but outside of there. One of the cities they got to, because they got more than one city. This was another city that they actually got into.
Oh, I see. All right. But in that territory, in the territory that they controlled on the way up to Moscow.
Yeah. This is pretty far from Moscow. Outside
But
of
I don't
Moscow.
think. Hold on a second. Do you think that if he'd have gone for the nukes, he would have been
alive.
that would have been a war. That would have been a war in itself.
He would still be alive though, because he would have had blackmail over Putin.
Oh, I don't know. I think the.
Well, the blackmail would have been, if you kill me, we're gonna be spreading suitcase nukes all over fucking Moscow.
No, look, if Prigozhin, just assuming Prigozhin was able to get a suitcase nuclear weapon, the only way he could deliver it, as you earlier said, I believe, is by some kind of a vehicle, with wheels.
Mm.
The Russians would have definitely have crushed him very quickly if he had touched those nuclear weapons.
Yeah, that's what I.
That's
believe.
if he could have gotten to the nuclear weapons, which are not just protected by ordinary, people. Same thing with ours; they're not protected by just ordinary people.
Well, he had a number of helicopters as well, so if they want to start shooting down helicopters to guess which one has a nuke, Russia's going to be in for a rude awakening.
If he had gotten one nuclear weapon, he would have been dealt with very, very quickly.
No, I think that Putin would have had to resign if that would have been the dictate from Prigozhin.
Wow.
Prigozhin should have done it.
Putin resign. I think that's the last thing. He'll kill everybody in Russia in order to stay in power.
Yeah, he would, but there are powers that be that are more powerful than Putin when they're together as one, and they would have had influence to get Putin the fuck out of there.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
This would be the only time in which they would have acted, though. You know, when nukes are out there and you have the fate of your whole country at the hands of these nukes, or simply make Putin resign and the trouble goes away. I mean, you're going to make Putin resign insofar and as much as you can. That is.
I don't
The
think
thing is, you don't fuck with Putin.
as
he's gonna-
Prigozhin found out.
Yeah.
Well, Prigozhin was just
Retribution.
stupid. I mean, Prigozhin knew Putin the best, and he still let his guard down. I cannot believe this.
Well, because they were friends from way back when, and when you're friends from way back when, and they say, "Listen, we've been friends for such a long time. You know that we're really close. Don't trust those friends. They're lying to you."
I mean, Prigozhin might have even been able to hop a plane to America. Who knows? I mean, America probably offered to take him in.
No, they would have thrown him straight to the international crime, whatever, ICC, whatever they call it.
Maybe, maybe not. I mean, look at how America treated former Nazis. They said, "Come on over."
Good point.
And these are former Nazis that had a direct role in overseeing over 6 million Jewish deaths, on top of millions of Slavic deaths and civilian deaths from other countries that weren't Slavic. Yo, Frank, don't you find that a little interesting, though, that he potentially could have grabbed these suitcase nukes? I know what you're saying, that, yeah, they would have stopped it. They would have put up roadblocks. I'm telling you, though, if it's a suitcase nuke, there's lots of ways to hide those and get around a freaking roadblock.
It's a ridiculous argument. I'm not even going to get into it.
Suitcase nukes are a ridiculous argument?
No,
Yeah, I think
no.
they are too.
Yeah.
You think those aren't easy to hide?
I don't think they exist.
Kids, dude.
They definitely exist.
Yeah, but how do you substantiate that?
U.S. intelligence reports.
Okay, let's see. Let's have a look.
Ukrainian intelligence reports that I just put in the chat right now from the chief of the defense intelligence of Ukraine. He literally just said they exist, and what I just posted.
It was written by David.
Listen, the only way
Hey.
Frank is going to be on board with this is if somebody sends him a suitcase nuke via USPS, and then Frank will finally be on board.
Who's Frank?
Oh,
Yeah,
it
who is-
smells
Who is Frank?
something. We should.
Oh, Frank in the room? Gotcha.
He's very skeptical, and so like I said, to
Good. You should be.
disperse the skepticism, same with you. We'll send one to Sydney as well.
Yeah, no problem.
They definitely exist. They are not going to take
Yeah,
out.
but okay. Well, I said I say Russia's definitely bluffing
Bluffing on what front? though?
on them using these definitely existing nukes.
I don't know what they're going to do with
I
them.
don't
but
think
they
so.
have.
They're bluffing.
They definitely have them. Go ahead.
You don't think they're bluffing? So I'm the only one that thinks they're bluffing?
If they're losing, then they're gonna use nukes. I think so.
Yeah, but
That's what I was thinking too. Is exactly what you're saying.
They've already threatened to use nukes if red lines were crossed. Red lines were crossed, and no nukes. So take the nukes
They're
off the
gonna-
table. They're not
They're
going to
going
use
to
them.
they're going to use some improvised device, and they're going to say that it was Ukraine who made it, and
They're
it's
not.
not there.
No. You don't know that.
Well, apparently red lines have been crossed. Yes. But war is not. I don't. I think the war is still kind of 50-50. We don't know if it's like Russia who's winning or Ukraine that's winning. But that's for sure. That I think Russia is not losing a war. There's a sort of like stalemate.
I agree with that. I mean,
But a
they're not
stalemate
making
means
any.
that Russia is
Russia is
losing
not
it.
making any progress. Ukraine is making progress, but it is a stalemate at this point.
Yeah.
Well, somebody said that a
Slow.
stalemate means Russia is losing. I agree with that.
I mean, how
You know,
long
if you
can
have like
Russia?
if you have 20 times more resources, you know, military and economic resources, stalemate is definitely losing. You know, it's like if you have a huge country, you know, like one tenth of the entire Earth, you know, and you are losing to a small poor country in Europe.
Well,
It's-
That's the
yes,
thing. A
you're
stalemate
right.
is not in favor of Ukraine because Ukraine has smaller population than Russia.
Well,
When there's a stalemate, of course, the Ukrainians and Russians both are dying. That's right. But the Ukrainians are, you know,
no,
their
it's a
population
stalemate
is
means
less.
so. A stalemate means neither side is winning. Of course, people are dying. Okay,
Yeah,
people are going to die until there is a peace or a ceasefire. But until that happens, Russia still controls 30% of the Ukraine. Not 30%.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I forgot. It's much less than 25%.
It's around 18 to 17, 18%. Yes. I think.
Okay.
Well, it should be zero.
Thank you, Oleg. You know, so yeah, it could end that way in a stalemate. But if Russia wants to become to regain its status as a nation acceptable to the West, they're going to basically have to pull out of the Ukraine. And it's possible that the Russian oligarchy and the military, who are the only that's what supports Putin. I mean, he's supported by the FSB, you know, the Secret Service, but they're not the most powerful supporters of Putin. The oligarchs and the military are. And if they decide that this is just a wasteful war and there's no point in continuing, they may put a stop to it. Who knows? We don't know.
Yeah, but
So how
then
come
again,
you
we're
say?
hoping that to happen.
How come you say
We're hoping-
we don't know, and some things and other things you say you're absolutely sure about it?
Say that again?
Yeah,
Yeah, because you don't know in either case. But one case you say we don't know, and another case you say you do know 100%, even though we don't know in either case.
Wait. Don't, be specific. What am I saying that I know 100%? What are you talking about?
You said you knew 100% that there were no nukes in any of the cities that Prigozhin took over.
The only city Prigozhin took over was Bakhmut, not cities. It's a single city.
When he marched on Moscow.
When he marched on. When he was back in Russia. I don't. Did I say that there weren't any nuclear weapons in Russia? I didn't say that. I didn't say there were no nuclear weapons in the cities.
Admit you were wrong. Come on.
No. What specifically did I say? I'll admit if
You said there were no nuclear weapons in any of the cities anywhere near where Prigozhin.
No, I never said that.
Where Prigozhin marched on Moscow.
I never said that because I have no idea where Russia is storing its nuclear weapons. So I would not say something I don't know anything about. So, sorry, I did not say that sentence. Maybe somebody else was saying that in the room. I did not. I have no idea where Russia is storing their nuclear weapons. I have no idea where they have their suitcase nuclear weapons. I did say that if Prigozhin did grab a weapon, that he would be dumped on very quickly. He would have. He's dead now. He would have been dumped on very quickly.
Okay, I'll give you the last word on that one.
Yeah, I don't really know Winston, where the hell the nukes are. But a nuclear war would really mess up what the oligarchy have been creating for themselves since the fall of the Soviet Union. I don't think that they would want that to happen. They want to be rich, they want to continue to make money, they want to be powerful in Russia. And the only way to do that, in my opinion, is for them to eventually bring this war to an end.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
I'll tell you what it
Oh,
means.
you
How
mean
is that
even
going
in
to
terms of
I'll
territory
tell you
lost?
what it means. It means Russia getting out of Ukraine and Crimea, getting the fuck out,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
that'll bring the
and
war to the end, to an end.
that would bring the war to an end. But will that happen? This may be something like an endless war. I don't
Yeah,
know.
but you're the one who
Yeah,
said.
that's why you think that they're gonna pull out of Ukraine. Russians.
I'm sorry. How is that?
Talking to
What?
me, right?
Like you guys think that Russia time is going to come when Russia is going to pull out of Ukraine.
No,
That's the
I'm
way.
not
That's
saying
how
that.
the war will end.
I'm not saying that.
I'm saying that's how the war will end if Russia gets out of Ukraine and Crimea.
Yeah, I
gone.
agree with you. I agree with you, Winston. But whether
Or
or
on
not
the
that
other
will
hand,
happen, I don't know.
On the other hand, if like the U.S. stops supporting Ukraine, the war is gonna end as well. What do you think?
I agree. Then Russia
Because
Russia just bulldozes over the whole of Ukraine, and who knows where else they're going to run into.
I think that would be very, very difficult for the U.S. to do because it would lose a tremendous amount of prestige.
Well, here's the situation. Yeah, I'm going to give you a thought experiment. One of my
Okay.
many. Russia has found 1 million very well trained men and are storming into Ukraine, and there's nothing Ukraine can do to stop them.
Okay.
They will take over Ukraine. What does NATO do? What does the US do? What do you do? What do I do?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer to that. I mean, I know the political reality is that NATO does not have a treaty.
Doesn't
with
matter.
you.
Russia's
No, no.
invading Ukraine. You
I
don't know where they're
understand.
going to
I
go
understand
next.
no. I understand your.
What does NATO do?
I understand your scenario clearly. I
Okay.
don't know what NATO will do.
Well, what would you expect them to do? What would you like
I,
them to do?
there's a difference between what I would expect and what I would like.
Well, then they put them both on the table.
Well, I don't know. First of all, I can't say what NATO would do, which is the expect question. What do I think should happen? I don't think that we should go to a third world war because we have no reason to attack Russia. NATO
See, now
is a
you're just telling
defensive
me what he
alliance.
doesn't think. You won't
It
tell
will,
me what he
it will
does think.
respond if it's attacked. So if Russia decides to take more of Moldova, they already took a piece. If they want more of Moldova, I believe, is a NATO member now. Or what other countries? Bulgaria. Any of the countries that were in the former Soviet Union that are now part of NATO. If Russia steps into their territory, then they are at war with NATO.
They already did that with Hungary. Sorry, with Romania the other day.
Well, a drone
No, no,
falling,
no.
a drone crashing doesn't
You
count.
said if Russia steps, and that was
I
a
said
step.
that no Russian troops.
That
went
wa-
into Romania.
That's a step. That doesn't matter. Crossing
No,
a line, military bang bangs,
No,
maybe
no.
even killing somebody. No, that's not a.
No,
That's,
I'm
that's,
sorry. That in my book that does not count as.
that's
an
a red
attack on
line.
Romania.
That's a red line that they cross.
I mean,
was not-
Romanians have themselves said that the red lines haven't been crossed.
Yeah,
like you
that,
had
Well, of course they're
drone
going to
was-
say that because
that was
because
not
they
an
they
attack on
backstepping.
Romania. It was an attack on Ukraine that went bad.
Yeah.
Okay, it was not an attack on Romania. That's different.
How's it
Intention
different?
was to hit
The person who was killed by Russia on the ground doesn't care whether it was an attack on Romania or not. The
Doesn't
family
matter.
doesn't care whether it was an attack on Romania or it
I
wasn't
don't
an
think
attack on
anyone was
Romania.
killed in
The
Romania.
person was killed by a Russian attack.
What the family
Don't
you
say
saying the
it went wrong. It was a Russian attack. It landed in in Romania and took a life.
Yeah, and so
And
what's
then
your
what?
argument?
That doesn't spark a world war.
No.
Yeah,
No, no.
In
That's-
1914, what sparked the World War?
No. I'm sorry. I already stated, NATO is a defensive alliance. Romania was not attacked.
NATO is chicken. Chicken
I don't.
shit. I'm absolutely
not
100%.
really. It's been giving a lot of great stuff to the Ukraine, and the
Nah, it's chicken.
Ukrainians have been doing a lot
Ukrainians
of
are
good things.
dying because NATO won't step in.
NATO-
Because
Ukrainians
because
are
Biden
dying.
Biden won't allow air superiority to the Ukrainians. What the fuck kind of a partner is that? Can you imagine if in the Second World War Truman or Roosevelt said to Russia, "Listen, I'm sending you these weapons, but you can only use them on certain. Do not use them on German territory. You can only use them. It's absolutely stupid."
Don't bring World War II into it, okay? But I understand your point.
Why not?
Because it doesn't apply. These are two different situations.
Okay, I'm gonna wait.
But I agree.
I'm gonna wait until you
wait,
go. I'm gonna wait
Winston,
until you
you.
point to something, and then I'll bring it up.
I agree with you. I agree with you. You know, I think that the Ukrainians should have been given the F-16s earlier. I agree with you. Okay.
They should have been given them right as soon as they asked.
Yeah, I agree. I don't control the government.
So whose side is the United States on, really?
Oh, come on.
Obviously, they're fighting. They're on their own side, hoping the war draws out longer and longer and longer, so they can produce more and more through the military-industrial complex
that's ridiculous.
and make more profits.
That's ridiculous.
Why is it ridiculous? You don't think war makes profits for the weapons manufacturers?
Somebody's got to produce. Okay, unless you believe that the Ukrainians should just simply give up, that argument is ridiculous. If you believe that Ukrainians should have their own
hold
country,
on, talk for yourself. Don't talk for me. When I want to say something, I will say it. Don't say it for me because you get it wrong every single time.
Okay, as you do with me. But I agree with you. We should only speak for ourselves. And if the Ukrainians were not given weapons at all, they would fall. If they're not given enough weapons, they will fall. But if you believe the Ukrainians should be allowed to have their own country and to fight for their own country, then you have to give them weapons. Somebody has to produce weapons. I can't in my house. Somebody has to provide them. So factories provide them. Those things, people have to be paid. Material has to be bought. Maybe is a profit made?
People have to be employed. Yep. Think about that.
In the factories.
But think about that. Unemployment plummets.
Wait, you're talking at the same time. What?
Sorry.
Just a second. If you know that those people are going to die, a lot of those people are going to die while you're giving them weapons, are you still going to give them weapons?
If they want the weapons. If they want to fight for
but
their
you know as an outsider, like you
I know
the
people are going to
foresight
die.
that they're going to die.
I know they're going to die, but I already explained to you. If when I see India giving up Kashmir and giving up Chan or whatever it's called, and all of the territory in northern India on the Chinese border, giving it to China, giving Kashmir to Pakistan, saying, please take this so that we don't have a war, so that nobody dies, then maybe I might buy your people dying argument. But we discussed that earlier. So, Winston, what were you trying to say to me? I missed what you were saying. Winston?
When did I say anything to you?
No, you and Harry Saab were talking at the same time, and then you let him speak.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh God, you're getting as bad as me.
Anyways, the thing is, your Kashmir example. I don't think, Frank, the Kashmir example applies there, because, like China and India, they're both powerful countries equally. Yeah, you cannot say that about Ukraine and Russia.
Like Russia. Why does Frank talk about the India situation,
I'll
which happened
explain,
in
Winston.
which happened in 1947.
No, Winston,
But you didn't
I'll
want me to
explain.
talk about anything that happened in World War
Winston,
II.
no. You didn't hear the original argument, so
Oh.
you're
I'm
picking
always
things out
guilty
of
of that, aren't
context.
I?
You're picking things out of context. You're doing to me what you claimed I was doing to you. So, what I was saying,
Victim.
well, Harry
Frankie's
Saab,
a victim.
if you want an explanation, I'll give you an explanation. If you don't want an explanation, I won't.
I get you what information you're coming up with, but I personally think that it doesn't apply here
I know
because
you don't.
Russia and Ukraine, they're both
I know you don't. I
they're
know
not
you don't.
equal.
But I was discussing this with Sydney. I mean,
Okay.
Sydney, do you want an explanation of what I was discussing earlier, even before you
Absolutely.
came in the room? Okay. Harry Saab feels that providing weapons is only causing more people to die, and that we should simply stop providing weapons, and so that people stop dying. Now, India, and then I was using as an example India and Pakistan and their conflict over Kashmir. They've had several wars, India and Pakistan. Well, they could have avoided all those wars, and they could avoid, even a future war over Kashmir if they would simply gift the Kashmir territory to Pakistan. And that would end the possibility, that would end the killing of people in any future war. I mean,
I agree.
Yeah, you agree. I know, but I know, and Harry said, I know you say it doesn't apply to the situation. I'm using it as an analogy. If you want to avoid a war, give up your territory. Ukraine can avoid the killing, can stop the killing by simply saying, "Look, we don't want to fight anymore. We're pulling our troops back from the front. We'll let Russia advance to wherever it wants, and we'll just keep retreating until Russia has taken over the country because we don't want any more death." That's Harry Saab's basic argument.
Yeah.
Okay, can you defend that, Harishav? Because that sounds very convincing to me.
Yeah, I think I can, because when you talk about like Kashmir, and Pakistan, they both have nukes, and that is very important point here. Look, if like Pakistan has nukes, they're not gonna give away Kashmir because they know they have an upper. They have something that's that's their enemy is scared of, and the same with us Indians. So Indians are kind of scared of Pakistan because they've got nukes. So they cannot they cannot get into a war because they know they both have nukes. Like this situation doesn't exist in Ukraine and Russia. One has nukes and the other doesn't, right? So it's kind of like imbalanced. Like, of course, Russia is going to kill more people because it knows that Ukraine doesn't have nukes. It cannot do anything. I mean, it can do things, but it's not going to be able to hurt Russia as much as it would if it had nukes, right? I mean, Russia wouldn't have been able to then even invade any part of Ukraine. So this is the differentiation that I'm making. Like Kashmir analogy isn't. I don't think it's the same analogy. Sorry, it's the same thing. That's gonna happen in Ukraine. I think that if you're going to, if the U.S. stops supporting Ukraine, the war is certainly going to end, because we have seen time and time again that the Ukrainians run out of weapons, and if they've run out of weapons, they're going to be like, okay, no more war. Let's come to the negotiating table, and we can make an agreement that we're going to stay neutral, but we're not going. But you'll not be invading any more of our lands. We are agreeing to give away this much part of our land to you, but you're not going to invade any more lands other than what that has been given to you already.
Yeah, but they
So-
already tried that, Harisav. In the
Really?
Budapest Memorandum, when Ukraine gave up all the nuclear weapons that it controlled, Russia agreed to respect the territorial integrity of the Ukraine, and that included Crimea as part of the Ukraine. So why would the Ukraine even believe that the Russians would agree to not grab any more territory?
Yeah, okay. So the thing, I think it goes back to NATO. NATO has been expanding towards Russia. Everyone knows that.
Yeah.
Like, so we have to then say, if NATO hadn't expanded more toward, absorb more Eastern countries and NATO, then Russia probably would have, wouldn't have broken their contra Budapest Treaty.
Yeah, but Harisav,
Yeah.
if the United States vetoed the applications made by all those other countries that wanted to joined, okay, the only country that we did not allow to join was Ukraine, but all the other countries in Eastern Europe and also in Western Europe, Finland, Sweden, and Norway, if we vetoed all of that, we would have totally lost